Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I am tired. I wonder if it's the energies going around too. It's kind of a rainy day with, I don't know, I feel like the energies are a little bit lower today. And definitely lots of transitional energies going around for everyone. Definitely seeing a lot of the past life experiences and patterns coming up and deciding to make different choices or not. Or, people not understanding and just remaining in what they do and going through the same things they always have and not understanding why. Because, human nature. And also the way we've been conditioned to be raised and what we believe in. So today's episode, like I was saying, is about generational patterns, generational lessons, and how we pass on from each generation to the next. I'm not going to dive super far into this because I don't have much time at the moment, but it's something I'll be continually talking about. The reason why I want to talk about this is because yesterday when I was talking about appreciating your family and loving them and your friends around and all the love people, whoever you consider your family, and also why I'm doing today's episode before the physicality episode is because you need to understand that a lot of us love. And a lot of people who hold high power roles in our world, they sometimes are threats. And there's sometimes we make decisions based on the ones that we love. And sometimes we're told certain things that feed our fears because we fear certain things. So I don't know why people think bribery and treason and all that kind of stuff doesn't exist anymore. I guess because it's not as outsourced in the media as it used to be back in the day, because they stopped doing that for certain reasons, obviously. And it's working because people literally don't think it happens anymore. And yet there is so much corruption. There's so much money laundering. There is so much in these leadership roles where we let them decide and rule the world we live in at the moment. The thing about it is, it's also because sometimes the people who are in the leadership roles are okay and be like, you know what, you don't have control over me anymore and I'm not going to make these decisions. But then the other people who blackmail and all that kind of stuff threaten the families and basically say, your kid will not go to the best schools, your kid will never have a career, your kid this, your wife that, your husband this, do you want them to die, kidnap, experience suffering, all this kind of stuff. And that's when they basically, out of fear, choose to do what the person who wants that decision made wants, because now they fear for not just their lives but lives of their loved ones, and they think that they're kind of stuck in this spot, which I'm not saying in that physical moment they might not be, but definitely they are in that fear state of mind. And this is when, there's so much to life, and I'm not just saying snap, you're out of it, because there's so many layers to work out. There's so many layers to work out. And when you start to understand about how far this stuff goes through the mental, emotional, and spiritual levels, and then through the past life levels and karma and all this kind of stuff, it's all there. And it might seem overwhelming at first, but like I said, again, it's worth the work. And this is why I think it's very important for us all to come from an understanding foundation, is because it's not as easy as people think. And at the same time, it can be, but there's just so much attached to it. We also allow for these attachments, which is why it's up to us, free will and choice, to break these attachments. And that's why everything is deeper, deeper, deeper. So that is why I wanted to bring everyone to a foundation of understanding, to not believe and think that people make these decisions based on nothing. A lot of these decisions are deeper than we understand. And when you get into politics and the positions of power to a certain level is when you learn this, and not necessarily before. And sometimes we don't know what we sign up for until we're part of it. And then they also get you by saying, well, this person did it and they've been doing it for all these years. So the next person that comes in thinks, you know what? Okay, well, they've done it. I never thought that they would have. So I guess I'm going to, it makes it seem more okay. But it doesn't mean it's not hard. It's what goes against them as well. And this is where the term about selling your soul comes in, etc., because you're going against what you are authentic with, which is why it's devil, which is lived backwards. Anyways, talk about that stuff more and more. My point being, about generational patterns and what we pass on to the generations and why we say history repeats itself. It's because through each generation, it does have its own set of lessons, as well as what comes on with the next generation, meaning that the ones, our grandparents and what they lived through, more survival mode, into our parents, that next generation, which ended up being more the work first mode, the baby boomers, into the next generation, which is now experiencing more the effects of those generations, and then having to deal with the emotional, mental aspects, and then bringing that into the world. And it's each generation in ways kind of cleaning up for the next generation. At the same time, the generation before not really understanding, because they don't get why you're not same mind frame, same doing as what they're doing based on what they were doing, not recognizing that things are different. Each ripple goes and creates each different expansion of what is expansion of awareness and what we experience in consciousness and all these kind of things. Everything expands as we go along, just the ripple. It just is part. It doesn't mean that those other core things aren't a part of us. There's just more. And it's hard to understand when we stick in one perspective of mind instead of recognizing all the different things that can be possible, which is so many more. You got to think about the ripples and how the ripples expand. It doesn't mean that the ripple expands in the same way all the way. It literally is, this ripple is this big, which goes into this ripple, which becomes this ripple, which becomes this ripple. And it's like understanding that kind of stuff in science and patterns and mathematics and all that kind of stuff. It's really amazing and deep. Recognizing sacred geometry, because the patterns of everything and the shapes, the sacred geometric patterns and the formulas, Fibonacci sequence, all of that kind of stuff, the golden means rectangle, the golden means triangle, the phi, all of this pertains into everything we exist in, which is why it's really cool that even the ancient Egyptians and ancient architecture and ancient cultures understood this, because it was within their architecture, within their paintings, within their drawings, within everything communicating towards us that in this day we didn't understand, and yet thought they were uncivilized and didn't understand where we are in pinnacle of knowledge, even though it's their pinnacle of knowledge that we don't fully understand because we've closed off to the metaphysical, to the consciousness, to the spiritual side. But when all of that is taken in together, it actually helps you to see all the answers of the universe, which is really cool, because it really is energy, frequency, vibrations. And many scientists, really well-known scientists that weren't appreciated for their knowledge until later, mostly after they've died for generations before they're really understood of what they understood, that this is really all about energy. When you understand energy, you truly understand all of life, and it's really cool. So the point about these generational patterns is that when we don't heal from that generation of the traumas, of the tragedies, of the suffering, of the understanding of what happens in the emotional within and into our mental, and then into the physical choices that we make into the world and bring in with the actions that we choose, consciously, non-consciously, the non-action that we choose, consciously, unconsciously. All of that adds to the experience of what we have, plus the karma, plus the lessons, which then make our choices, which pass on to the next generations because we haven't healed from that. When we have understanding of things, what we teach, what we pass on is actually different from the things that we don't. I guess this is something to understand. We always teach and pass on what we know, don't know. It's just a part of it. You know how much learning isn't necessarily just from learning visual. Learning is everything. It's mostly also from experience. It's from watching others and then making choices. And lots of us didn't realize, and most of us actually don't realize how unconscious, how unaware we're actually living until we understand and see further, and the expansion, do we look back and see maybe that we were smaller or bigger than we thought, and it's not a bad thing. It's just as you expand and you look back, things are different. Whereas when you come from this space and you look forward, it looks like there's so much about perspective here. Everything's about perspective. So I just wanted to bring on that everything is a part of this, and it is for every single being, soul, piece of strand of energy going on in every single zoom, 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 zoom moment, every vibratory cell, every single, everything. It goes micro, macro completely. The tiniest little speck of universe that creates, like the God particle into the actual universe. All these things have the same components. It has all the same properties, and it's just about how it decides to experience that makes it seem different and yet unique, but yet is the same, because it is all derived the same. I mean, it's completely all the time, and it's really interesting. So the reason why I want to bring up again about the generational patterns is literally we are here healing karmic lifetimes of generations. We have come into a time in this universal timeline of where we're at with the alignments of every planetary thing, every single moment, all of that stuff, into this energy that really is about letting go of past and into a new cycle. We've literally come into a new cycle. And when you come into a new cycle, it allows for the clearing of the old, and that's what's happening right now. There have been so many gateways of planetary alignments that's happened these last few years. If you really look into it, it's so amazing. Again, like that Tahedron, is it Tahedron? It's the 4 blood moons plus the 1 blue supermoon, and then all these eclipses happening, and then we're just having the solar eclipse into the lunar right after the summer solstice this year, and there's like a few more coming, but we're literally in this gateway. We're literally walking through it now. Before, the gateway was opening, and we're literally have a choice to walk through it now, and in that walking through, it really determines what you're gonna be, what you're grounding as here now, and creating the world to be, and that's what's happening at this moment. So that's why with this generational patterns I was talking about, and why the history is supposedly repeating itself, because it doesn't have to. It only repeats because we haven't healed or learned. And once you heal and learn and change the cycle, remember that spiral that goes forward, once you step out of that and change that, everything changes. Change the formula, change the result, and that's what's happening right now. We all have a chance as a humanity, as a collective, as a group of this world, to change what's happening right now. And a lot of people that are ruling the world at the moment don't want you to know that, because they like where the world is at the moment, because they have the control, they have the power. So understand, this is what it's all about. It's about that control, because in truth they fear a lot, and that's what this is all about. So that's why it's important for us all to come from love. Love changes everything. It truly does. Love is also what creates the fear. So we went that way, and now it's the other, and it's the balance, right? Balance. So basically, in the generational patterns, we have a lot of karma, and we have a lot of karmic things that we can heal. And a lot of us here in this moment of time at the moment are able to heal those karmic past patterns if we wish to, if we learn to, if we decide how to heal. And I'm sorry, but most of it right now is communicating it out. It's that energy. It is, and that's why we're doing this, and why I'm here with you guys to help guide you through this. Again, is it easy? Not the easiest, and yet it is easy, and yet it's not easy, and yet it is easy. And it's that balance and finding out the path you wish to experience, and finding that balance within you in all aspects of life. For me, even, I'm just trying to balance life continuously, and I mean, it's always changing, because it's that wave and that ripple, and, you know, always pinnacle, but yet through waviness and all ways to get there. So I know that was jam-packed with a lot of information there, but anyways, I love you all. If you followed along and were able to, cool. And if you need to watch that again a bunch, or if you're just so lost, you know, it's all whatever is our experience at the moment. So this is out there now. I'm hoping forever, because it really depends on how technology goes and what they decide and all this kind of stuff at the moment. But we can control that too. So, you know, what is my thing? I see all of these things out there for generations to learn, because it's not, I mean, we can literally, in a snap of a finger, if we can come together as a cooperative humanity, change this in quickest time. But also, it's a lot of deep things. So, you know, some people might want to take their time. And that's what we have here at this moment, is time, lots of time, divine timing, and yet there is no time. And I mean, life is so cool that way. Anyways, good luck to you all. And yes, getting into the physicality of the world very, very soon here. So much love, everyone. So much love. And thank you for allowing me to be here to communicate all of this kind of stuff, because it's what I personally need in my passion and in my karmic life, to heal from past what I wasn't able to express before. And now I'm able to in this way. And while it is at the moment a simpler form, I mean, because there's so much knowledge that is into this, and yet for some people this is a lot. So, you know, perspective, spectrum, all of that kind of stuff. Anyways, love you all truly, deeply, unconditionally. Mwah. We deserve it. You deserve it. We truly deserve the best lives, the ones that we've always wished for. It's just for us to choose and to know we do, so that we can make it happen as our physical experience. Lots of love.